Hi, it's the end of a work day. It's about 20 minutes after 6. I'm here at our business called American Analyticals. It's a testing lab and we test for dietary supplements, some over-the-counter drugs, and then just the general class of products that's known as nutraceutical products. My wife and I own this business, and we've been in business now for almost 16 years. We started as a single person company. That is, I was the one that was just simply doing the business. And so we've grown the business over the years from a single person to about now at 7-8 employees total. And so again, we've been in business for about 15 years, 16 years. And it's been a good journey. It's been a good journey. And so what I want to share with you is just some of the wins and some of the losses that you would have if you decide to become a business owner. It doesn't matter if it's a lab business. It doesn't matter whatever type of business it is. You're going to have wins and losses. You're going to have good days. You're going to have bad days. You're going to have days when you wish you didn't have a business. And then there are going to be days when it's the best thing that you have done. And so these are some of the things I want to share with you. So today is, as you can see, I've forgotten what day it is. So I've been here all day. It's at the end of the day. And today's Tuesday. So today's Tuesday, all the employees have left. And so now I've had a quiet time to just go over some stuff, look at some of the stuff that we have done, and plan for the day tomorrow. And so I normally like to use as a business owner, and I'm sure everyone has their own way of doing it, but for me, I normally like to stay at least an extra hour or two later than everyone else. Not because I want to work late, but simply because, it just gives me some time before I get home to just sit down and go over the day and see, okay, what did I miss? Is there a customer that I should have called that I didn't call? Is there an employee I should have spoken to about a project that I just did not? And so it just gives me time to think back on what I should have done or can do better, or in instances where, okay, I thought that this project went really well. And I'm one of those people that, I keep a notepad. So I tend to keep a notepad of work and the tasks that I need to accomplish during a day, and sort of go through and see what did I get done, if I was able to accomplish everything. So today I did not accomplish everything that I had set up on my task list. I was able to accomplish about 90% of those things. So of the 10 things I had listed, I got 9 of those done. And so one of the customers we had, I just didn't get to their emails, but we'll get to it first thing in the morning when we get back, or even tonight just before I leave. But again, so like I said before, we do a lot of testing for various customers in the supplement space. We do various testing for customers in the supplement space, and that has allowed us to grow our business. So right now we offer everything from identification testing of herbal products, botanicals, raw materials such as amino acids. Caffeine is a big one. We test a lot of caffeine for a lot of different customers, and everything that you can buy at a supplement store, we can test that product. And so hopefully we know we're doing a good job because our customers keep coming back. And but in business, what you realize is that no matter how good you are only as good as the customers say you are. And so we try, at least from my end, what we try to do is do the best that we can, be as honest as we can, and as transparent as we can with our customers, give the best customer service we're capable of, and we let the chips fall where they may after that. And so that's kind of the things that we have been doing. And so what I want to do is kind of take you on a journey with me in the life of an entrepreneur. In our case, we have a capital intensive business. And so for us, the journey has been a little rocky sometimes. So just to go back a little bit, I left pharmaceuticals, had a great job as a quality control scientist, rose to the position of lab supervisor and manager for several businesses, and then went off on our own and began again, as I said, as a single employee. I was doing all the testing, I was doing the sales, I was doing the marketing, and to be quite honest, I was more scientist than businessman. I really enjoyed getting into and solving a customer's problem and figuring out, hey, why a method didn't work, and testing again, and just doing all the little things to give you almost the perfect test method. The problem with that, whether you're starting out or you're a seasoned in a seasoned business, is that perfection sometimes is not good for business, because you spend too much time, and then after a while you spend that a project that should have taken you an hour, you spend 5 hours, but you're only charging the customer for that hour's work, and so you've lost 3 to 4 hours when you could have turned around that project instead of trying to be perfect, because you're never going to achieve perfection. So that was one of the things I had to learn in business. So like we said, that we started, and for the first 5-6 years, I was really a one-person show. I said we will get the customer, we'll do cold calling, we'll go to trade shows, get a customer, work on a project, feel good about ourselves. And then comes the hard part of collecting. And then, so now we had to learn the hard way that, fulfilling a project and getting paid is not the same thing. And so we had a lot of projects starting out. And even now, sometimes we still have projects where we do a lot of projects and then we realize that, we haven't gotten paid yet. So we have to go and, stop some of these projects or call the customers and let them know, hey, it's time to pay for the project that we did 30 days ago or 45 days ago. And I'm sure every small business owner has that issue. And so what I want to do in these series of videos is just walk you through some of the ups and downs that we may have as a small business owner. But there's also the satisfaction of knowing that you're in charge and that you can deliver value. At the end of the day, it's really about, can you deliver value? And if you're going to be in business, you have to deliver value to your customer, whether it's a price value, time value, convenience value. You have to deliver value to your customer. If you're not delivering value, then at some point that customer is going to leave. And so what we have learned, and what I've learned, is that not only do you have to deliver value to your customer, but then you also have to continue making sales, and you also have to continue doing marketing. And one of the things that I did not do well when we started out, as I said earlier, was I did not do well at sales and marketing. No one taught me how to do sales when I was doing my bachelor's degree in chemistry or the master's degree. And I went to grad school for an MBA thinking, well, let me, fix this deficit. And then I realized nobody taught you how to do sales in your MBA program either. They teach you how to do marketing. And so I realized then that, to do sales, I have to figure this out. And so I just started cold calling. I took the phone up and I'll call and get the phone hang up on me, and I'll do it again. And I kept doing it and realized that there is no other way to do it but to make that call and get that rejection. So I'm going to tell you right now that if you're there looking at this video and you're thinking about starting a business, whether it's a product business or especially if it's a service business, you better get accustomed to rejection. You better get accustomed to people hanging up on you. Just like when a guy calls you and we get spam calls and you hang up on them, you got to be prepared that someone is going to hang up on you in the professional realm. Simply because, look, they don't have time. Number one, that customer or potential customer already has a service provider he may be happy with. Or even if they're not happy with it, with that provider, simply because they have been using that provider for a long time, just the thought of changing and finding and getting someone else sometimes can become a barrier to getting a new customer. So you kind of learn that the hard way that, hey, it's not as easy as it looks, but you have to keep doing it. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, you have to be able to take rejection. You can't take it personally. But then again, you should. Because for everyone that tells me no, I make a list and I keep going back and I keep going back. But you have to have a strong constitution. If everything pushes you aside, if you get depressed over hearing no or not today, then entrepreneurship probably is not for you. All right. And again, you don't have to do cold calling, but there's just one way when you're beginning, in my opinion. When you're beginning a new business, sometimes it's best to just take up the phone and call the guy or the lady at the other end, you know. And now I have a simple rule that I use when I do cold calling, and that is I'll call that person, I'll call that number, and sometimes they hang up on you, and sometimes you get hung up on, and then I'll call back again. You know, sometimes it's a week later, and they would answer. And you get a conversation, but they may not want your service. And I say, hey, thank you for your time. If you don't mind, if I can get your information. And most people are willing to give you some information. And so we'll take that information. And then I said, hey, can I call you again? And then I'll go back, and at some point later on, I'll give them a call again. And sometimes they don't want any business. They don't want to do business, but I'll keep them in my database. And then over time, I'll just shoot them an email or I'll follow up with a random call. Again, this is not a science, you know, and so you just have to find your way when you're beginning to do business. Like I said, for me, the sales part I found difficult. The sales and marketing part I found difficult. I found that I was more relaxed, and I found that I was more at ease speaking with the guy who had a bachelor's degree in chemistry or biology, or the PhD in organic synthesis, or whatever it is his degree was in. That was my comfort zone. We were speaking the same language. So once I got a project, it doesn't matter who I was speaking to on the other end. That was where I felt at ease, and then I over-delivered. Like I said earlier, sometimes I spent more time on a project than I should have, because incrementally the result was really the same. But because I was so enthused about having a project and solving a scientific problem for a customer, I made the mistake of sometimes over-delivering and spending a much longer time in delivering a project than I should have, just so that I can get it perfect. And so that's something I had to learn. We still deliver great results, but now with employees, we deliver it much faster. And so I had to kind of remove myself out of the way. So this is something we're going to talk about later on. But for now, I just wanted to at least give you guys an introduction to who am I and what we do and how we do it. So again, just to do a brief recap. So my wife and I own this business. It's called Calmeric Analyticals. We provide quality control testing services primarily to the dietary supplements industry, some cosmetics, some over-the-counter drugs, manufacturers. A lot of our clients are manufacturers. A lot of our clients sell on Amazon or their own website. And so we provide that testing service. And one of the things we found out is we have to explain, depending on the customer, and our customers can range again from the PhD of a large institution to just a new guy starting out, trying to get a product on Amazon, who does not even have a scientific background. And so sometimes we have that challenge of how we communicate. And so what we want to do is to take you on that journey at the end of every day or at the beginning of a day, about what we did today and how it happens. For instance, today was a day where we had to come in and address some customer issues. Nothing that was too bad. We just really had to buckle down, had to meet with my managers. So we have two managers here, one that is over the labs and one that is over the quality assurance. That is that person. The quality assurance is that person who look at all of our data, write that report, and send it off to the customer. Our lab manager is that person who, he organizes the lab, and he makes sure that all the chemists and microbiologists, they are working as they should. They're working on the projects that they should. And so we are consistently and constantly coordinating and making sure that we're on the same page. And again, just like any small businesses, sometimes we're perfectly aligned and otherwise, and sometimes we're just not on the same page. And so, but that's part of it, of being a small business. There are just real good days. As I said, today was a good day. We were able to get a lot of reports out to the customers. We were able to get a lot of reports out on time. We had some customers that wanted reports that were rushed. And so for us, we have a service, it's called a rush testing service. And so in 2 days, once you send us a project, we can turn it around and we can give you a report of that project within 2 business days or 48 hours. And for that, we charge an extra fee, of course. And so we had that where we were right up against our timelines, because we had a couple projects that were rushed, and so we were trying to get those out. But we were able to get those projects out. We were able to meet the customer's deadline. We were able to answer several important questions that some of our customers had. And so overall, it was a good day. But as a small business owner, it was also, just like most days, it could have had it had its challenges. But again, that's part of being a business owner. And so we're going to just get into the various aspects of what it is to own a business, especially a capital intensive business. I think I talked about that earlier, and I'm going to get into that in more videos to come. And so, but just to give you a brief highlight, is that how we did it was simply this. In starting this business, we literally bought one piece of major equipment that is called a HPLC, high performance liquid chromatography, or some people say high pressure liquid chromatography. So we went out, and I went online, and I found the oldest model of that piece of equipment, and someone was selling it for $10,000. We put that on our credit cards, and then placed an order, and I had it sitting in my garage for about 3 months before I started. I was still working at my regular job. And so since it was an older model I was not familiar with, so even though I'm familiar with the principles of high pressure liquid chromatography, that model I definitely was not familiar with, never seen it before. They were not used in the labs that we're at. So I just took some time after work every day. I would go home and try and figure out how to use this system, since it was definitely new. Once I figured it out, I realized the software with the system was pretty modern, but the hardware itself was just old. And so once I figured that out and figured out how to work the software and everything else, then it was just on to the next step. That $10,000 we found in our warehouse, and this was all back in Tennessee. We found a warehouse, we set up business, and like I said earlier, we just started cold calling. And that's how we began our journey in our business. We started cold calling, and we said, hey, this is the test we can offer. We can only offer you one type of test, and that is high performance liquid chromatography of your raw material products and your finished formulated products. And again, for us, we simply went back and we used what is called United States Pharmacopoeia, USP. And the USP, or the United States Pharmacopoeia, it has several methods, not just several, it has a bunch of methods, mostly for pharmaceutical type products. But some of it is applicable, and at that time they had some that were applicable to dietary supplements. And so what I did was simply started out with what was listed. Hey, these are the products that we can test. Here is where we would get the methods from to do your test. And again, like I said, you start hearing a lot of no's, but you're only looking for that one yes. So we found that one yes. That customer sent us some samples, and we had that customer for about 15 years, consecutive years of business. And so sometimes, again, you just have to get one yes to be in business. And so from that one yes with one customer back in 2008, and just so you know, we started this business right in the midst of the great recession. So any time for me is a good time to start a new business. You really just have to start the business. All right. So if you look for perfect time as an entrepreneur, there are no perfect time. There are no perfect times, or every time is the perfect time. You just have to start. And if you are not willing to start, then you need to reconsider whether or not you want to be in business. All right, so this is going to conclude our first video. Tomorrow we're going to come to you with another video, and we're going to get into how did we start the business a little bit more. And we're just going to take it from there. How did that go tomorrow? Some of the things we're anticipating. We're just going to see what happens. But for now, thank you for listening. Have a good night. Bye.